Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today I have for you another Krieg build. So recently on my melee build videos, I've been getting some requests to do some Bloodlust or Hellborn builds for Krieg, and I thought, hey, what the heck, let's go ahead and do it. So I would like to say right before we start, if you enjoy this video, please consider leaving a like, please consider subscribing, and please comment down below what you want to see next or your thoughts about the build. So what's the point of this build? This is overall pretty much just a Krieg gun-based build or elemental build. And the great thing about this is it's super interchangeable and there's so much variety. Krieg is able to use so many weapons so well. Like, he's able to turn anything into just the best weapon of all time. And not to mention, it's, in my opinion, one of the most fun builds in the game. I love Krieg. Krieg's always just fun to play. But this build really just shines. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, starting off with the skill tree. So we're going to be focusing primarily on the Hellborn and the Bloodlust skill tree, but we'll go down into the Mania one a little bit because it is pretty much required for this build. But let's go ahead and start over on Hellborn. So you have to spec into Buzzaxe Rampage. We're not going to use it literally at all. Then you've already got two decisions to make. You can either go into Fuel the Fire, which will massively increase your chances to proc elemental effects, which you want to be doing, and also set yourself on fire, or you can go Burn Baby Burn, which increases burn damage, but that's the damage over time. So in the OP levels, it's really not that powerful, but I often end up getting it anyway, because it's like, I'm going for a Hellborn build, so let's just double down on it, try to make it better. Since I'm currently using a Legendary Torch, I'll often put 1 point into that, and then drop 4 into Burn Baby Burn. Then moving on, you always want Numb Nerves. It's a very good skill, and I would never pass it up. It just gives you damage reduction while you're on fire, and luckily you can set yourself on fire using these two skills. Moving on to Pain is Power. Problem with this is it is a decent skill and it will increase your damage, but I don't really recommend it because it gives you negative crit damage to the point where shooting them in the head negatively rewards you. Like, it will punish you for hitting crits, which is really sucky. So a lot of times I'll just skip it. There are builds using Torch class mods where you're able to buff Pain is Power a ton and make it work, but I wouldn't do that. On to Elemental Elation, which is one of the best skills in this tree. I would never ever pass this up on a gun-based build, or even on a melee build actually. So essentially what this does is when you apply an elemental status effect, it will give you stacks, and for every stack you get fire rate and mag size. Obviously, this is extremely powerful. This ends up giving you 200% bonus to your mag size, which is already going to be big from a different skill we'll go into, but it also gives you 110% fire rate, which is insane. If you're using a different class mod though, it will be halved, but it's still super good. Then moving on to Delusional Damage, I always spec into this. This just makes it so applying any status effect, so corrosion or slag, shock, whatever, that all will set you on fire too, and you really want to be set on fire when you're playing Krieg. Then there's Fire Fiend, which doesn't seem super good at first, but the weapon accuracy and reload speed are actually pretty good, so sometimes I will spec into it, and we'll get into that in a second. Hellfire Halitosis is one of the worst skills in the game, never spec into this. Don't ask any questions. Then there's Flame Flare, which a lot of people actually skip over, but I disagree with that. It is very good. So what this will do is it increases the duration of burn effects on you, and there's a chance that at the end of it, you'll get a second burn effect too. So you're pretty much always on fire, and it's so rare that you ever won't be on fire. The only problem is that if an enemy sets you on fire, it'll do more damage than your self-fire, so you can get a really long-lasting, really painful dot on you if you're unlucky. But if you set yourself on fire instead, then it doesn't matter, and you'll actually be protecting yourself from future fire dots because an enemy can't apply dots on you if you already have it on. A lot of times I'll max out Flame Flare, 5 out of 5, or you could max out Fire Fiend. I think I'm going to put like 1 point into that, and then pop 3 points into Fire Fiend, just for that bonus accuracy and reload speed. Then Elemental Empathy. This is, again, one of the really good skills in this tree. Honestly, this whole tree, though, aside from Pain is Power and Hellfire Halitosis, are really good, so. But what this will do is essentially the status effect damage you deal, whether it's a fire dot, corrosion, shock, whatever, doesn't matter. You heal off of a percentage of that. And it's 25%, which is actually a pretty big amount, especially in OP10. Then moving on to Raving Retribution. Essentially, if you're on fire and take damage, you send out a ball of fire that'll go and kill enemies, and what's great about that is it can actually proc Bloodbath over here, giving you more gun damage. So if you're already this far down the tree, absolutely get it. And before the OP levels, it's actually really powerful. Even in the OP levels, it'll get kills, but it's less likely. All right, then moving over to Bloodlust. So Blood-Filled Guns is an easy 5 out of 5. It increases your mag size up to 250% of what it normally would be, just by having Bloodlust stacks, which is insanely good. Then Blood Twitch, which is you kill an enemy and you increase your weapon swap speed. This is another one I max out every single time. You get an insane amount of swap speed. Swap speed is obviously very good for swapping to slag and slagging the enemies, or if you need to swap to a corrosive weapon or whatever. Super quick, super instant. Taste of Blood is a really good skill, but for melee, so we're going to skip that. Bloody Revival is not that good. Going to skip that. Blood Overdrive, not good for this build. We're going to skip that. Fuel the Blood is good, but you'd have to be getting melee attacks, and you're not going to be doing that. Bloodaxe Bombardier, we're going to skip because we're not doing melee. And then Bloodbath. If you're doing a Krieg build, you pretty much always have Bloodbath, unless it's like a full melee build. But essentially what this will do is when you kill an enemy with a grenade, which this also applies to if you shoot an enemy with a weapon that has grenade splash damage. So if you shoot an enemy with an Unkept Herald, there's a chance that it will end up proccing Bloodbath because the grenade splash will actually end up killing the enemy. And for every single stack of Bloodlust, you gain bonus damage. In this case, without a class mod that boosts it, you get 250% increased gun damage, which is insane. That is like a ridiculous amount. If you have a class mod that boosts it, it can go up to 500% or 550% if you have a blue class mod. Plus, every time you kill an enemy with a grenade, they have a 75% chance to drop a grenade. So you pretty much have infinite grenades. Super good skill. Never ever pass this up. Blood Trance, this is absolutely useless for this build. Skip it. Then go into Boiling Blood, which will make it so you have 2.5 extra seconds of time before Bloodlust stacks start to decay, which is very good for times that you're between enemies and trying to run over to a new enemy. Nervous Blood, super good skill. It just increases your reloads for each stack of Bloodlust. Max it out every time. And then Blood Explosion. Everyone knows how Blood Explosion works at this point, but essentially, if you kill an enemy with anything, the overkill damage you dealt to them will explode around them, dealing damage to other enemies. If you're able to do an insane amount of overkill damage using something like a fastball, that can then kill another enemy, and maybe that enemy gets overkilled from Blood Explosion, and then they overkill another enemy, and it stacks and stacks and stacks. And that's how things like the Blood Explosion on Pyro Pete work, and some of the other raid bosses too. It's just exponential growth in damage. So always spec in a Blood Explosion. It's so good. And now we have 23 points left. We need to make it down to Thrill of the Kill. So if you really, really, really wanted to just pure health gate, you could go empty the rage here, but it really doesn't provide anything. It would essentially just be wasting 5 skill points. So I'm going to spec into Feed the Meat, which will increase our shield recharge delay, which is going to be very good if we use the Flame of the Firehawk, and our max health, which you really, really want as Krieg, honestly. A lot of people believe that health stacking isn't very good, but I very much disagree. Then Fuel the Rampage. Again, I wouldn't get this. It's only good on a melee build in normal Vault Hunter mode, so skip that entirely. And then Embrace the Pain, which is so good. It's such a good skill. So with my class mod, it'll boost my fire rate by 70% when my shields are down, and it also adds 10 seconds to shield recharge delay. So my shields will pretty much always be down. And when you mix this with Feed the Meat, that's giving us 12.5 extra seconds of delay. And add on top of that, the fact that Flame Flare is doubling the burn duration and having it so almost all the time it'll reignite me. So you've got like 30 seconds of shield recharge delay, essentially. And now you always want to put at least 1 point into Thrill of the Kill. Honestly, more points beyond that don't make a huge difference, but it is actually worth it with this build because you will end up killing enemies with damage over time. So if you kill someone with a proc of, let's say, like fire that does 100,000 damage, as opposed to an item that does 1,000,000 damage, the overkill healing isn't actually that much, but if you put more points into it, it gets better. So alternatively, if you're planning on using a lot of explosive weapons like the Unkept Herald or a Ravager or whatever, you could put your points into Strip the Flesh instead. Sometimes I kind of split it up and I'll put like 3 here and, 2 there, but we'll do 4 into Strip the Flesh in this case. And then Redeem the Soul, which will just give you 50% more fight for your lifetime. Super good. I wouldn't pass it up. And now you've got 7 more points to do pretty much whatever you want with them. If you were planning on using a lot of shotguns, which Krieg is very, very good with shotguns, you could go into Salt the Wound and max this out. This will actually increase your shotgun damage by essentially double at max stacks. So if you're using shotguns, I definitely go into that. Alternatively, you could put these points into Fire Fiend, Flame Flare, Fuel the Fire, Burn Baby Burn, whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and put my points into Flame Flare, Fire Fiend, and we'll probably get more points into Fuel the Fire. And there you go. That's my rough build. But the thing is, there honestly is a lot of options. Again, if you wanted, you could do Pain is Power. If you wanted, you could skip Burn Baby Burn. If you want, you could skip Fire Fiend. You could skip Flame Flare. You could go for Salt the Wound instead. There's a lot of stuff you can do here, but this is what we're going to be rocking with today. Moving on to the gear. So again, like I was saying, there is so much gear that Krieg can use, and I'm not going to be covering it all in this video, but just know that he can use pretty much anything in the game. Like literally, he is so powerful with so many items. So today I'm just going to be showing you the ones that I find the most fun to use. But let's go ahead and start with the easier stuff, which is all this down here. So for shields, if you want to go for more of a actual Hellborn build, you want to use the Flame of the Firehawk, which essentially once your shield goes down, you start emitting fire novas all around you, and they keep going until your shield starts to recharge. Well, by the use of Embrace the Pain, Feed the Meat, and Flame Flare, you can keep your shield from ever recharging, meaning you constantly have fire novas proccing all over the place. So you'll end up constantly dealing fire damage to everything around you. It stacks up elemental elation super quick. It kills everyone super quick. It's really, really good, but you lose a lot of defense over using the other shield that I would sometimes use. Sorry, my inventory is cluttered, but the Rough Rider. Honestly, I feel like the Rough Rider is a much better shield than the Flame of the Firehawk, but the Flame of the Firehawk is a lot more fun. You kind of got to decide whether you want to use something fun or something actually like really good. Typically what I'll end up doing is I'll use the Flame of the Firehawk, and then if I end up getting down or something and it ruins my momentum, I'll swap over to the Rough Rider and keep that on for the rest of it. And you're pretty much just as powerful, but you kill things a little bit slower. So then moving on to the class mod. For this build, I've really only used two class mods, pretty much the Legendary Torch or the Legendary Reaper. And similar to the shield, I think the Legendary Torch is more fun to use. However, the Legendary Reaper, I would say, is better to use. So with the Torch, you're getting a bonus to Embrace the Pain for more fire rate, Elemental Elation for more fire rate and mag size, more burn damage, more elemental effect chance, and more fire duration. Those are kind of whatever, but it's mostly the fire rate that really, really shines through with this class mod. But again, I don't actually think it's the best class mod. As where if you go for the Reaper class mod, you'll get double the kill skill duration, which your kill skills are insanely good because that is your reload speed, that's your bloodbath, that's your blood twitch, it's your fuel the fire. But again, I find the Torch to be more fun, but the Reaper is actually the better choice, so it's up to you. Then on to grenades. I realize my fastball's underleveled. So you've got options for grenades, right? Either you can go for a fastball, which honestly I use most of the time to proc Bloodbath and to get more grenades, but you could alternatively use something like a Stormfront, Electric Chair, Pandemic, I guess a Quasar if you really wanted to get people in for Blood Explosion, Slag Crossfire, especially for bosses, you want to be using that, or really whatever you want. Again, Krieg has so many options. A lot of people use a Chain Lightning just for quick healing. Personally, I use a fastball. I'm going to be using a fastball. So grenade is up to you. I use a fastball. Then into your relic. There's honestly a lot you could use. If you're planning on doing mostly explosive, you could do an explosive damage relic. If you were planning on using mostly one type of gear, you could use some sort of an allegiance relic. If you were going for primarily pistols, you might use the sheriff's badge. A lot of people will use an incendiary bone of the ancients to really, really double down on the fire aspect. Personally, I use a vitality relic or a blood of the ancients. In this case, I'm using one that buffs my sniper rifle max ammo because I'm going to be using the Pimpernel a lot, but it's really up to you. Again, the great thing about this build is that there's so much variety. You can use pretty much anything. The only thing that you really are stuck to are like your two class mods and the shield. Pretty much got two viable shields. Moving over to the weapons I'm going to be using. So now moving on to the weapons I'm going to be using. So I want to show off, you know, some of the better weapons, but there are so many that you can use. In this case, I'm going to be using a Fire Pimpernel, which I haven't seen many people use the Pimpernel on Krieg, but it is so powerful, and I'll show you that in a little bit. Then for slagging and for healing, I'm going to be using the Grog Nozzle. If you're going to be using a Flame of the Firehawk, I do recommend Moxie weapons because your health is really low, so you're able to health get a lot. Alternatively, in the space of the Grog Nozzle, you could use a Slagga or a Slag Pimpernel or whatever you want. It's mostly used for slagging, but the healing's very nice too. Then moving on, again, there's so many options you can use, but I'm choosing to use the Kitten today. I have one of every element, so then whatever I'm facing, I can just swap to that. In this case, obviously, I'm going to be using fire because we're in Sawtooth Cauldron. I'll try to show off going through a loader area later, though, to show off that Krieg's still powerful against corrosive targets, but not really with the Flame of the Firehawk. And then also, I've just got an Unkept Herald, just in case I need to proc Bloodbath, or if I get down and whatever. I just have it there. So that's what I'm going to be using today. I might swap to a few other weapons in a little bit, but I am going to list off all the weapons that I find to be especially good on Krieg. So again, he can use pretty much anything, but for the weapons that I find to be really, really good on him, we have the Baby Maker, the Bada Boom, the Blockhead, especially, the Butcher, especially, the Carnage, especially, the Conference Call, especially, the Flacker, the Hail. The Hail is insane on Krieg. The Heartbreaker, which is also insane on Krieg. The Hellfire or the Nirvana, you can use an Infection for stacking up Elemental Elation and Bloodlust. The Interfacer is ridiculously good. The Lyuda is ridiculously good. Norfleet, obviously. The Omen is super powerful. The Overcompensator. The Peak Opener is actually just kind of broken. I just don't use it because I don't find it that fun to use all the time. But it is like one of the best weapons in the whole game. So the Sword and Unicorn Explosions are insane. The Sawbar is super good. Obviously, I already said the Slagga. Or if you want to slag, the Miss Moxie Slow Hand is really, really good. And it comes in all elements. So, you know, and it heals. The Teeth of Terramorphous is super good. The Thunderball Fist, the Toothpick, the Twister, and the Volcano. So again, those aren't all the viable weapons on Krieg. Those are just all the weapons that I find to be above and beyond good. So I think that pretty much covers the full skill tree and all of the gear. So let's go ahead and get into it. So before I get in, I do want to mention that Krieg is all about momentum. It applies to his melee build, it applies to his gun build, it applies to his Hellfire build. It's all momentum. If you lose the momentum, you really have to get back into it. Between the Flame of the Firehawk and Bloodbath and being set on fire, it is just about keeping it going. Because if you end up getting down and get back up, the Flame of the Firehawk won't be full charge, but you still have the recharge delay from Embrace the Pain and Feed the Meat and stuff. So it'll take you, you know, 20 seconds sometimes before your shield starts recharging. So that can really, really kill the flow of combat. Sometimes you'll get to a really hard enemy, and if you don't have a smaller enemy to kill for Bloodbath, they can be a big challenge. But if you have Bloodbath proc, it's no challenge at all. So you just really need to keep it going as you play through. So let's go ahead and go through. I'm going to start using this build right here. So got a Pimpernel, Grog, Kitten, Unkept Herald, Flame of the Firehawk. I've got the Reaper Comm on just to really show off how powerful it is. Then I'm using a Fastball mostly to proc Bloodbath and a Blood of the Ancients. Now, as you're starting out combat, I pretty much always have my Moxie weapon out. That way they don't kill me before my Flame of the Firehawk starts going off. But here we go. As soon as it starts going off, people start dying. So you really want to be watching down below and watch for when you have Bloodbath up, which I do right now. And Pimpernel just one-shot that guy at OP10. Sometimes you'll run into someone like a Scavenger, which is actually really hard to kill. So I'll just spray him down with my Kitten. There's a lot of visual pollution on this build. I highly, highly recommend that if you're doing this build, you use a mod to get rid of the splash on the Flame of the Firehawk. You can see the Pimpernel is just 3-shotting almost everything. That's every big enemy. The small enemies have 1 to 2 shot. And if you get really lucky with the side pellets of the Pimpernel, you'll kill it even quicker. Here, I lost my Bloodbath, so I'm going to proc it. And as you can see at OP10, literally none of these guys stand any chance. Everything just dies. But between combat, you need to make sure that you're either getting hurt or running to combat really quick, because you don't want the Flame of the Firehawk to start recharging. Sometimes if you get lucky, you'll get the drunk effect, and then the Pimpernel just becomes insanely busted. See, sometimes I'll get to a hard part, like a Scavenger here, so I'll just kill this guy with a grenade, and proc Bloodbath, and then all of a sudden, everything will die super quick. You can see there, Raving Retribution actually procced Bloodbath for me, which was very nice. My health is getting really low here. Oh, and I did end up dying to a barrel, but this is kind of good, actually. And now I don't have my Flame of the Firehawk active, so I'm actually going to swap over to the Rough Rider. And I might actually die. That's okay, because I can get up off this guy. And There we go. So now we're going to swap to the Rough Rider. You'll notice that things still die super quick. It's just that they don't die as quick. But I'm significantly more tanky. Literally nothing stands a chance when you're playing this build, which is what I love about it. But you do still have to be careful. It's not like brainless gameplay, but it is very powerful gameplay. And let's actually go ahead and swap over to the Legendary Torch. So it gives you insane fire rate, and it's super, super fun, but you lose a lot of damage from Bloodbath, but you'll get to see how insane some stuff can get. Let's get a Bloodbath proc if we can. Oh, I'm stuck. And now you can see we just spew out bullets. But with no Bloodbath, sometimes it takes a little while to kill enemies. Proc Bloodbath. Oh. I don't actually know what I died to there. I think it was a Goliath Blaster. Here. Okay, that was needlessly close. There is a Blaster somewhere slagging me up, which is really bad. Oh, it's a heavy Nomad. There we go. You can really tell how much less damage you end up doing when you lose Bloodbath from the Legendary Reaper, but you can really see your fire rate come in, which is what I just find so fun. Alright, so let's go ahead and swap back to the Reaper, because I would prefer it. And then we'll actually swap back to the Flame of the Firehawk too, and let's change up some of our gear. Alright, so now I'm going to use a Lyudmilla and a Heartbreaker, but I do want to keep Pimpernel on just because I do love it. I do have to wait for my Flame of the Firehawk to recharge. Alright, now that it's recharged, let's go back into battle. And let's try out this Heartbreaker. I have the drunk effect right now. But yeah, you can see it's shredding through the enemies. Absolutely no problem. Even without Bloodbath, it's pretty powerful, but definitely takes a significant hit in damage. Oh, I did die here. So again, now that I got down, I'm going to swap over to the Rough Rider, and you'll see in the bottom left just how much my health jumped up. Ooh, that is not good. Goliath Blaster. Any sort of blaster type enemy will just ruin your day. So I did actually die there. And it's not super uncommon on Krieg, especially if you're new to him. I'm kind of just bad at the game, so I mean, that happens. Alright, so as long as we can kill this guy with a grenade and get my Bloodbath up. There we are. It's actually not good. Now I'll kill this guy with a grenade too, so I can Bloodbath Mortar. Maybe not. There we go. Flag him up and just unleash. But again, you can see what I'm saying about momentum, where if you end up losing all of your momentum, it can be hard to get back into it, honestly. So a big part of why I use the Lyud Millet is for flying enemies, and especially buzzards. You'll see that with Bloodbath, the buzzards become a total non-issue. Oh, we got a good little blood explosion chain there. But now that I have Bloodbath, let's just rip into those guys. Use the fastball just to get Bloodbath back up, start killing everything, and then absolutely destroy the buzzards. See, but once Bloodbath goes away, all of a sudden it becomes a lot harder to kill this guy. But nothing a little slag can't fix. Alright, now swapping over to a blockhead and a slow hand, which will probably eat through my ammo like crazy. Again, want to get my Bloodbath up, start slagging some stuff, and just start destroying everyone. Be warned though, with the slow hand, its splash radius is pretty big and will actually kind of kill you pretty quick. You want to be careful. Turret, no match for the Lyud Millet. The slow hand's weird because half the time it's just insanely good, and then the other half it's really underwhelming. I honestly can't totally figure the weapon out. But here you can see everything dying in just a few shots. Or you can pull out the blockhead, which will kill in probably even less shots. Got down again. No Bloodbath up right now or anything, which is the tough part. And if you're using explosive weapons, you won't be losing Bloodbath nearly as much. In this case, I'm not really using a ton of weapons that proc Bloodbath, so I am having to use the fastball more often. There you can see everything just dying. Oh, no Bloodbath. Sometimes in cases like this, I'll actually wait until I find a smaller enemy to proc Bloodbath and then aim for the tough ones. But looks like there's not actually anything for the buzzards. Let's go ahead and go for a weapon switch again. So let's go to my Unkept Herald. I do have a Deepa, but I actually prefer not using it. And let's go back to the Kitten as well. Alright, there's Bloodbath. And yeah, there goes the buzzards. There goes me, dying. And I actually died again like a noob. But hey, now I can swap over to the Flame of the Firehawk. Alright, and get back into this. Got Bloodbath up, so now just kill everything. Oh, and you know what else too? Let's go ahead and put on my Ravager as well. Just a normal purple Ravager, nothing special. Alright, I think you guys get the whole idea here. So let's go ahead and swap over to an area with robots. A lot of loaders. All right, so I decided we'd go through Heroes Pass. I haven't actually tested this, so I'm just going to assume that this will go well. And I'm keeping on the Uncanny Herald for the flesh enemies that we will run into here. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have swapped to the Pandemic, actually. All right, so the first kill is always the toughest one. Get Bloodbath. They are all snipers. I'm actually going to swap back to the corrosive fastball because I do prefer it. Oh, I don't even have a corrosive one actually on this character. So we'll just go explosive. Everyone has a sniper right now, literally. I'm gonna put back on the grog just so I can help get these snipers and rockets. As soon as you get Bloodbath, things just die, but without Bloodbath, it's honestly kind of tough sometimes. I'm gonna try to rock Bloodbath. I don't have any stacks though. Okay, let's get some more stacks. Everything. There we go. So he definitely does worse against these harder enemies, and especially the non-flesh targets. But that doesn't mean that he's bad against them. Personally, I am bad against them. Alright, let's see how it goes against this loader. Well, I'd say he's dying pretty quick for no B shield. I'm just gonna commit to killing him while Bloodbath's still up. And there you go. We definitely struggled more in Heroes Pass, but it was still doable. We still made it through. We'll open the chest for good luck. So with this build, it is definitely possible to kill raid bosses, but it's kind of slow and steady wins the race sort of thing. He's better against some than others. Like, I know he can kill Terramorphous pretty quick, but killing someone like Veracitus is going to take you forever with this. And yeah, that's the build. So if you have any questions about it, leave it down in the comments below. And I realized that Krieg honestly a lot harder to play than some of the other characters because he's very, very like feast or famine. He can either be really, really brutal to play or really, really powerful and really fun. And that can change in the matter of just a few seconds, even in gameplay. Again, like I was saying, momentum. If you lose your momentum, all of a sudden the build just dies. But if you gain your momentum and keep it going, then you can go through pretty much anything in the game super, super easily. So hopefully you all love playing Krieg as much as I do. He's my favorite character. I think he's so fun. As you can see, the build was definitely less powerful against like robots and stuff, but that's just kind of the nature of those enemies being harder. It didn't help that every enemy there had a sniper or rocket launcher, but we made it through just fine anyway. And we were even able to kill the super bad constructor, which I don't remember the last time I did that on Krieg. And this was all using weapons that I don't even think are the best weapons for this build necessarily. I will say that the Pimpernel is probably one of the best, but honestly, if I was using the Carnage or an Omen or a Hail or Conference Call or whatever the heck, right? They honestly could be better. That's what's great about this build. There's so much viability and you can use pretty much anything. And even when I'm not paying attention and I'm talking to you guys, I'm still able to make it through decently fine. Again, thank you all for watching. Leave down in the comments anything you like about this build, anything you would change, why I'm wrong, and what you'd like to see next. Have a great day.